Family life can be full of love, but also full of tension. Many of the struggles we face aren't about individuals, they are about the system as a whole. In this video, we will talk about the obstacles in family development. Every family is expected to go through different phases of life and to adapt to challenges along the way. However, some family systems really struggle with this. And to understand these obstacles, we first need to understand the theory of differentiation. Differentiation is just the balance between autonomy and individuality on one hand and connection on the other. A low differentiated family system is one where there is either too little individuality or too little intimacy. A highly differentiated family, on the other hand, has a healthy balance of both. Low differentiation can show up in two main ways. In the first case, there is little connection or vulnerability, while the need for autonomy is exaggerated. In the second case, the system is emotionally fused, meaning boundaries are blurred and family subsystems are not clearly defined. If the boundary between the parental and the child subsystem isn't clear, parental roles become uncertain. Other family members can't rely on the parent or even know what to expect, and this lack of boundaries can even lead to abuse. In a fused system, it's unclear where one person ends and another begins. Any expression of individuality threatens the system. A person has to fully submit to the family dynamics, which requires them to deny their uniqueness and autonomy. Understanding differentiation helps us better grasp the main obstacles in family development. We'll talk about 5 of them. Conflict, projective identification, emotional triangles, symptom formation, and addiction. Conflict arises when opinions, wishes, needs clash. But conflict itself is not necessarily bad. In a highly differentiated family system, it helps to strengthen individual autonomy. But in a low differentiated system, however, arguments are experienced as overwhelming tension that feels unmanageable and threatening. Another important obstacle is projective identification. In psychology, projection means that a person unconsciously attributes their own unresolved emotions or traits to someone else. For example, a person who feels anger but doesn't admit that they feel really angry inside, they might start accusing others of being hostile and aggressive. Projection reduces inner tension, but really it disconnects the person from their real feelings. In low differentiated families, projections are very frequent and also very rigid. Family members often feel tension they cannot regulate, they don't understand, and therefore pull in more sensitive and responsive members who then absorb these emotions and also begin acting them out. This process is called projective identification. It can only happen if the sender finds a receptive partner willing to take on the projected content. Unfortunately, children usually become the recipients of projections because they're the most vulnerable. They also have an unconscious drive to restore balance in the family, even if the way they do it is dysfunctional. The goals of projective identifications vary. Very often, it's a defense. It relieves the sender and helps maintain a tolerable self-image. Then, shared experience. The person feels less alone when someone else also carries the same emotions, the same distress. This also helps to create a sense of connection and belonging, even though it's very dysfunctional. Unconscious wish for resolution. Projections can represent a hidden hope that another person will understand and help resolve that inner conflict. Closely linked to projection are emotional triangles. These occur when two family members can't handle the tension, the conflict between them, so they pull in a third person. The tension spreads, but the real issue remains unresolved. For example, a mother and father have a tense relationship. The father keeps withdrawing, and the mom feels more and more lonely. Instead of addressing the marital conflict, she turns to her son for emotional closeness. She confides in him about issues that are not appropriate for his age, burdens him with her need for intimacy, and ties him emotionally to herself. As a result, the child becomes a substitute partner, loses the chance to focus on his own development, and often feels distance or even resentment toward the father, feelings learned from the mother. Another obstacle is symptom formation. Symptoms can be physical, psychological, or behavior, but they always reflect the entire system rather than just one individual. Family tensions through projections, triangles, often overwhelm the most vulnerable member who takes on unresolved emotions. This person becomes the scapegoat, drawing negative attention but unconsciously maintaining family balance. For example, when the parents' relationship is really toxic, a child may draw attention by misbehaving at school or even by becoming ill. This relieves family tension, but at the cost of the child's well being. It's important to remember children are rarely the true source of family problems. They usually just mirror deeper, long standing dysfunctional dynamics. Symptom formation can also show up as addiction. Family members with low differentiation often have a poorly defined self, meaning they lack a clear sense of identity of who they really are. This shows up as difficulty separating their own emotions from those of others, so they may avoid closeness or, on the other extreme, completely fuse with others. Their beliefs' identity depend on how others react to them. It also shows up as weak balance between reason and emotions. Decisions are driven more by momentary feelings, very impulsively, and limited autonomy. They struggle to maintain boundaries, needs, desires, as they are quickly absorbed into the family dynamics and also other relationships later on. A person without a clear sense of self, without a healthy balance between feelings and reason, struggles with stress and makes very impulsive choices. This makes them much more vulnerable to different forms of addiction. Take a moment to reflect on your own family. Which patterns do you see, and how might understanding them help to create a more harmonious home? By recognizing these hidden patterns in our families, we can then begin to break old cycles and build relationships that are both loving and balanced.